Let's go. Babylon 5 role-playing game, 2003 and 2006, birth and influences. Unlike many RPGs, the Babylon 5 RPG was not created because a designer invented a new game mechanic. It existed because Mongoose Publishing acquired one of the most respected science fiction licenses available and faced a difficult challenge. How to how do you turn Babylon 5 into a tabletop role-playing game without losing what made Babylon 5 special? That challenge shaped both the 2003 game and the 2006 second edition. The biggest influence was this: Babylon 5 itself. You cannot separate the RPG from the television series. The primary influence is simple. Babylon 5, created by J. Michael, I'm not good at saying this name, Strak Zinski, whatever. The series stood out because it focused on. Now, I got to say this before I go further. If you know his name well, I apologize if you're a Babylon 5 nerd and you can say his name like breathing air. Oh, Traveler games. One of my favorite games, Traveler to run. Old school Traveler. I love old school Traveler. Right. And Cyberpunk, which is Cyberpunk. The old school of Cyberpunk is just Traveler with some additional stuff. Right. So the series stood out because it focused on politics, diplomacy, espionage, religion, prophecy, war, and character development. Character development was a really key point here that really turned me on to this game. Rather than simply exploration, weekly adventures, action stories, the RPG inherited those priorities. The Babylon 5 RPG wasn't trying to create a setting. The setting already existed. Its job was translating the show into a game. So, yeah, you got it, Black Rose. So there's going to be a mix of advice going in the future for the game master, but when I get to the setting, it's almost hard to talk about it without talking about how you run it. So there's going to be a mix of stuff in both areas. Oh, Traveler is so good. It's just so good. Forgotten Platinum. So if you can find a guy that will run it for you, you just got to get someone who you. It's all about building trust with players. Game Master doesn't have to do too much work, really. They just got to react. Like they have to have the world. See, you're going to depend on how the world reacts to you, but the world is the Game Master. So you got to depend on having a good Game Master that reacts. And now, if he or she does a good job, that will build your trust up. If they react in really foolish ways, you won't be able to enjoy it because you'll have a hard time trusting. Okay. Influence: the rise of serialized television. One of the most important influences wasn't a book or a game. It was a change happening in television itself. During the 1990s, Babylon 5 became famous for embracing long-form storytelling. Events in one season could affect events years later. Characters evolved. Political decisions had consequences. Relationships changed permanently. Why this matters. Most television science fiction before this relied heavily on self-contained episodes. Babylon 5 pushed much harder towards ongoing story arcs, character growth, long-term consequences. The RPG tries to capture that same feeling. The Babylon 5 RPG isn't trying to emulate a weekly television adventure. It's trying to emulate a story where today's decisions may matter years later. Now, J. Michael's influence. His approach, he approached Babylon 5 differently than many television creators of the era. While not every detail was planned from the beginning, the show was built around a long-term story arc that was unusual for television at the time. This gave the setting a sense of direction and purpose. The RPG inherited that structure. What carried into the game? Long-term campaigns, political consequences, ideological conflict, character-driven stories, large historical arcs. The 2003 game, why it was made. In 2003, Mongoose Publishing released Babylon 5 role-playing game and fact book and a fact book. This happened during the height of the D20 boom. At the time, the open game license was enormously successful. D20 products were everywhere. Publishers were looking for major licenses. Babylon 5 was a natural fit for a science fiction RPG line. The business reality. Fans wanted a Babylon 5 RPG, but the game also existed because Babylon 5 was a valuable license. D20 was commercially successful. Mongoose saw an opportunity to bring the setting to tabletop gaming. Both things can be true at the same time. So they want the license and like they want the IP, but they admit they actually liked the setting. They actually liked it for a game. They liked many aspects of what Babylon 5 was offering. And you could say they only want it for the IP, for money and that. But if you look at the setting and the way it works out, I enjoyed this enough to say both things can honestly be true at the same time. There is value in Babylon 5 for gaming, surprisingly, not just IP and attraction. The challenge facing designers. This is the most important thing to understand. This little note here. Most RPGs are built around combat, exploration, treasure, character advancement. Babylon 5 is built around relationships, diplomacy, political maneuvering, ideological conflict, long-term consequences. The challenge wasn't creating rules. The challenge was creating rules that felt like Babylon 5. The 2006 second edition. By 2006, Mongoose released Babylon 5 role-playing game's second edition. The goal was not to replace the setting. The goal was to better represent it. Major areas revised. The new edition focused on improving telepathy, space combat, character options, rule clarity, core system organization. While remaining broadly compatible with previous supplements, the first edition adapted D20 to Babylon 5. The second edition tried harder to make D20 behave like Babylon 5. So at first you're trying to use what's out there. On the second round, if you really look at both, and I've read through them, I do agree with the statement. This is a statement that comes from them, where they were trying to now change it around, not just make it that it could work together, but make it that it worked for Babylon 5, not just work together anymore. What actually influenced the RPG? If you strip everything down, the major influences are Babylon 5, of course. The primary influence, serialized television storytelling, long-term arcs and lasting consequences, political science fiction, governments, diplomacy, ideology, and competing interest, military science fiction, fleet actions, military command, and interstellar conflict. The D20 era. The mechanical framework reflects the dominant RPG design trends of the early 2000s. Interesting facts here. Many licensed RPGs focus heavily on reproducing action scenes. Babylon 5 presented a different challenge. The show's most important moments were often negotiation, political decisions, betrayals, speeches, personal convictions. Trying to turn those into compelling game mechanics was far harder than designing another combat system. The real design goal. Most RPGs ask, what can your character do? Babylon 5 often asks, what does your character believe? Because in Babylon 5, loyalty matters. Politics matters. Ideology matters. Faith matters. Personal convictions matter. Those themes became the foundation of the RPG. I'm going to tell you, it's going to sound a little corny going forward when I get to some parts, because this game, it really tries to lean into sort of the hope dope, right? Into the goodness, into the game itself tries to lean into it. So just talking about the game going forward, there's going to be some areas where I don't know how you guys would take it. Maybe slightly corny, but it is what it is. The Babylon 5 RPG was born from an attempt to translate one of the television's most ambitious serialized science fiction stories into a role-playing game without losing the politics, diplomacy, ideology, and long-term storytelling that made the series unique. Most science fiction RPGs are about exploring the galaxy. Babylon 5 is about deciding what kind of future the galaxy will have. And it really sticks to that. It's a lot less important about jumping over. So there is your fluff going in. And before I get to the next two parts, I am going to have another one, but I want to talk to you guys about this. So it's really hopey stuff. And if you ever read the actual and Black Rose, you should know this. If you read at least the first edition, it continues into the second edition. It really is about the hope of the future of the galaxy. It's way less concerned if you travel. Combat is very secondary to the game. It's there, but it's not a big thing. No, I skimmed. So I say no, but I skimmed, and it's one of those shows I just realized if I were to commit, I'd have to keep watching. Right. And I just didn't like the feel to it. I will, but I ran the game just like Star Wars. I'm going to do those movies, but I ran Star Wars with no problem with the same thing. It does it. It's like Game of Thrones. I never watched that. And you know that, like I watch the Star Trek stuff. Next Generation, watch it all. Deep Space Nine. Couldn't get into Star Wars. Didn't have to for the game, thankfully. Babylon 5. Again, I didn't have to watch the show to run the game. I like that it has so much information. And in some games, when I know too much about a show, it's almost like I did a good job. But like Robotech, I watch all of Robotech, the Palladium Robotech. Yeah. But it really was like hopium, and they were like in the first one. You could tell if you actually read through the text of the 2003, it almost seemed like it's a money grab, right? But you could tell when you get to the setting, the people working on it really nerd out like for like a space RPG. There is some really RPG nerding out in the language, and you could tell. So I was like, yeah, and I can see why it's good. It's like Deep Space Nine. It reminds me of that. Remember, I said Deep Space Nine would be good for Star Trek for a tabletop role playing game. The idea with the space station, even though you went and traveled and did this roguish stuff, I did a lot on the station. I did a lot of gaming on the station because the station is, they sort of see it almost like Deep Space Nine in a certain way. There's a lot of good gaming to be had there, and the way they created like a mini world there. There's a mini world of things to do. Right, that it shocked me because you could go do the space stuff like you said, forcefully, Black Rose. You could focus on it, but you didn't have to. You could do a lot on the space station, like deals, negotiations, gangs, factions. You could do the whole 9 yards. I never got into doing either, and people get mad. Some nerds get mad at me because it's just very limited. I'm a very busy guy in life. To Forgetful Planet, I'm just going to be real with you. So busy, I didn't do a lot of TV, and when I did do TV, it was like cartoons in the 80s because I was born 1980. So, by the time I get to a certain age, fair enough. 90s, I liked TV in the 90s. After the 90s, everything just sort of became busy life, hustle, gaming. It's like you notice I'm doing YouTube now. You might be new here, Forgetful Platinum. This is going to be 5 streams this week. And 2 weeks of every month, I do 5 streams. The other weeks, I do 4 streams. I do not a video every day I used to, but I do a video at least every couple of days now, guaranteed. And on top of that, I live in Canada, and I'm not retired. So I got to work and hustle to pay for things, right? And I don't have a high-end job. I'm a regular guy, regular work, right? And so I got to do a lot of, grindy to pay my bills. And only recently did I hit the 1K thing, go through the process to even start getting members. And honestly, see, this is not paying my rent, but like I said, like I was telling you, I work my ass off here, and if it gets people like Black Rose to support me enough that I can pay for some things on the internet that I do and other things, it makes paying bills a little easier and not have to pay out of the pocket on those stuff, and I really appreciate it. But yeah, now same here for the Dune fan. Black Rose is a super nerd, so if you mention that you watch anything outside of Star Trek, he's watched just about everything. Kind of like the older Dune long film better than the new ones. It's because the production quality and the mood. News are truer to the books. I never trust anything new coming out nowadays. It's like almost everything new comes out with the same message stuff. It's the typical, gotta put certain characters down, change it. I'm just like, okay, all right. Now I wouldn't mind if you did that, is because I don't mind doing unique things every so often in the entertainment world. I'm not as picky as other people. But if that's all you do every time, then I get bored of it. It's like you always got to change the white guy to a black guy. Okay, I don't mind if you do it every so often, but like all the time, okay, now I'm bored of it. All right, now I'd rather see the other thing. Right? If you always the woman always has to make the guy look stupid, but like in every show and every movie, yeah. Okay, now I'm bored of it. You know, it went from I'm usually cool with that stuff, but you do it all the time now, so that's boring. Uh, or the switch up. We promote the guy. You get here, you're going to watch a guy like Dexter season 2, and then 95% of the show is other people. Like, wait, I showed up to watch him in this. It wouldn't be bad if it was every so often, but it's like every show, every movie, just about. And you get very few where it sticks to character. That's why people love Deadpool, for example, because at least for the most part, you're going to get the character. You're going to get what you're paying for, so you'll go to it. But very few, almost every one of them are switch up. Where I'm just like, dude, if it wasn't every single show and every movie you were doing this too, I wouldn't care. I think it's okay to do that in entertainment. It's just, is it, you promote this guy. Can't I just come see the TV show and see him? Like I'd invest my time for him. That's why you put him in the commercial. If I show up and he's there for like 5 or 10 minutes and it's like, it's about her though. Well, dude, I don't hate her, but I never showed up to watch this for her. Again, I don't mind every so often if you do a good job, but then if you do it all the time, it's the fatigue. When I do the how to run this and character creation, I will not stop for a pause. I'll burn right through that stuff. That's just the opening fluff, just to get you guys. The fluff is always just a bit of background to it. I suck at saying some names. I could not say that guy's name to save my life, right? Me too. And they're so good. Like Kurt Russell movies. All Kurt Russell movies are usually fucking good. Escape movies, Escape from like LA or New York, or the China one, right? Always fucking good. Older TV is better. Like it's like they did that new Total Recall. It's like that's trash. I can still watch old Total Recall all the time. Like you can stick Arnold Schwarzenegger on Total Recall, and I'm like, I'm fucking down, dude. I'm in. I'm completely in. Because I don't mind switching up. It's not like it's been done. It hasn't been done in the past, but it's like at one point, dude, after like 10 plus years of doing it, and it's every movie, every TV show, you got to give me a change. You got to, the guy that you put on the front cover, he has to be there longer than 10% of the fucking movie, right? You can't keep doing the switch up. It's every time. You got to stop it. The very few movies where it's like John Wick. That's why a lot of people like John Wick. Because the reason his movies got praised is because, well, finally you're showing Keanu Reeves. He's supposed to be a killer. You got to watch. And he's one of the few movies You're like, wow, he's in most of it killing people. Great. So it's like, but the reason that's an exception is it's an exception. The majority are not doing that with the movies now, which is a shame. Just a shame. It's boring. Bores me. See, Forgetful Platinum is right up my alley. I see Black Rose. I told Black Rose, you're exactly the same as me, Forgetful Platinum. Black Rose into some different stuff, but I said, because he's never watched Star Trek, and I said, if you're gonna watch Star Trek, watch the ones I watch. My favorite, which is not Captain Kirk. I don't mind Captain Kirk, but I'm just not into it. I'm not into Voyager. My two favorite are exactly the ones you're talking about: The Next Generation with Picard and Data and all that shit, and then Deep Space Nine. Right, the war story, the whole thing, and TNG was more episodic. That's true. That was episodic. That was more, you could watch any episode. Deep Space Nine was a bit of that, but I like that they changed it up. It didn't feel the same. That was more continuous. So what happened 10 episodes could affect something happening 10 episodes later, right? So it didn't mean that some of that wasn't played on TNG, but mostly TNG was episodic. Deep Space Nine was more story arc, character development, right, in a certain way. It doesn't mean TNG didn't do character development, but they did it more episodic. But both series are fucking awesome. Both of them are fucking awesome. And if you only watched those two, TNG and Deep Space Nine, that's at least if you go to your grave watching those two, you'll be happy. They are that good. They are that good. They are fucking that good. They are fucking awesome. I love the whole story. I love all the characters are fucking unique, from Data to Quark to the Cardassian assassin who's a tailor. All of it is fucking deep and good storytelling. And I don't care what criticism they got back then. The writing is awesome. Most of the writing for the two shows is fucking good. The speeches, the relationship between Q and Picard is beautiful. Like, it's beautiful. That chess game between those two in conversation is awesome. Like, because it's a chess game. And every time those two characters were interacting, it was fucking amazing. Q and Picard. Same thing with Odo and Quark. I always love that sort of, here's your somewhat petty thief, criminal business guy talking to the strict, Mr. Authority, Odo. The relationships were fucking awesome. And they knew how to do them right. They just knew how to do it right in ways that was unique. I still love them to this day for that reason. And I have watched Deep Space Nine, the whole series, more than once. I've watched Star Trek Next Generation more than once because of that reason. And they do reruns on those. Well, they did reruns for years on those shows. So it was easy to pick those up and just watch them conveniently. Babylon 5, the idea of it sounds like it'd be good. It's just, the reason I think I got into Star Trek, the TNG and Deep Space Nine, before I move on here, is by accident. It's the best I can tell you guys. It's not like I planned to watch all the Star Trek shows like that. It just happened. Then once you start watching it stop, right? And there's a look in appearance and actors, and I tried a bit of Babylon 5, but there was always an appearance in the actors that it didn't hit with me the same way. But I'll leave it at that. Okay. Babylon 5 Game Master advice is here. If you run Babylon 5 like a typical science fiction RPG, you will miss what makes it special. The game is not primarily about fighting aliens, exploring unknown planets, collecting equipment, winning battles. It is about politics, diplomacy, secrets, relationships, loyalties, and consequences. The core mindset as a GM, your job is not to create a series of encounters. Your job is to create conflicting interest. Every major group should want something. Examples: Earth Alliance wants stability and security. Century wants influence and prestige. Narn wants justice, independence, or revenge. Minbari pursue spiritual and political goals. Corporations want profits. Intelligence agencies want information and leverage. The story emerges when those goals when those goals collide. And it's if you understand all those things, making things happen becomes easier. Like it really is. Once you know what all these groups are after, you know they'll have individuals, people that they're trying to get them. You start realizing how easy it is to just create a sandbox with Babylon 5. It's actually really easy. And there's all these interest in people wanting stuff, and you got to decide, what are you with? What are you leaning against? What matters to you? And it's once you communicate that really well to players with their characters, it's really easy for them to start leaning into stuff. And so if you're doing a job for someone, it sounds easier. If you're working for someone, it's like, okay, you work for them, but who might you be working against? So who might not want you doing something, or who might want you doing something, or maybe somebody wants to make you a different offer. There's a lot of it's Babylon 5, guys. If you're a fan of Babylon 5, you'll get why there's so much flavor there. It's not hard to pull off. I watch half the. Oh, you're talking about this. I watched half of the first one. You shut it off. I remember being a kid playing with some of the Legos. It's hard to pull off. A lot of people, me included, think Space Adventure and Vision Flash go to. I just don't worry about that. I set up expectation before the game. Here's what you're doing, and then I tell you just to play. Once you start playing, just play. Whatever I'm putting in front of you, react to. That's it. That's all. I don't care what your vision is. 15 minutes past a bump, I'll have you in flow. Once you're in flow, all that changes. So I always try to tell people, you can come in with what you want, but I'm going to have a talk with you first. I'm going to set expectation right away. Right? Things are going to be put in front of you. Your job as a player is to react to them. And if you're off thinking about something else, means you're not busy playing the game. So a good player is going to be busy playing the game. And I'm going to get at players to pay attention. Play the game. If your mind is wandering, it's not my fault. It means you're not focused on the game. So I always tell players, don't blame the game master when your mind's wandering. Right? For you to know if I'm any good, you got to focus. And if under those conditions, I can't do good with you, then there's a problem with me. If your mind's wandering, right, and you're not focused, that's not me failing. That's you failing. Right? So I always let players know right away, you got to focus and play. You got to focus on what's being said. That's all you got to do. I don't care how grindy for the first 10 minutes it feels. Focus and play. React, talk with your character, do what you're meant to do as a player. And if you give me those 10 or 15 minutes, I'll get you into flow. Once you're in the flow, you're playing. I'll have things coming at you. People will be talking to you. Offers will be made. Other players will be talking to you with their characters. You just need to start playing to that. And at one point, you'll just be doing it. And as long as that's what you're doing as a player, you brought what I need. Right now, as long as I bring things coming at you, the players with their characters and all that, well, then I'm doing my job. If we do that right together, we get into the flow, you'll have a good time. If your mind is wandering from the moment we start playing, you're not playing. So you need to play. That's all I ask from players. Judge me after you give me the effort. Right? But don't start by not giving me the effort and then judge. Oh, I'm not liking this. Are you focused on this? Oh, you're not. Your mind's wandering. Okay, so you don't even know for sure if you're liking anything I'm putting in front of you. You got to give it a chance. You won't know in the first 2 minutes. Give me 15. All right. As long as you do that, I'll get you the flow. Get you the flow. Then it's like, oh, it's interesting that he wants that. What did he say about offering the thing? For you to get to that point, you need to be focused. Very important. It's not me trying to preach at your Forgotten Planet. I've been doing game mastering since 1991. I'm used to having a talk with players, sometimes inexperienced players, sometimes very experienced players, because if you're not under a good DM or a good game master, I have to get you to a certain point. And I got to make sure that you're not just depending on getting into the new school flow. Like I need to get you to flow point. And you probably won't understand it until you're there. So for you to get there, you just got to play, right? Okay. Oh, yeah. 1 second. Oh, it's having someone visit. I just have to have a talk with them. Like, hey, man, remember I'm fucking live here. Okay. Bathroom pizza time. Step 1. Every side thinks they're right. One of the biggest strengths of Babylon 5 is that most conflicts are not simple. The setting works best when every side believes they have a legitimate reason for their actions. Babylon 5 conflict, not who are the good guys and bad guys, but whose position do you agree with? Babylon 5 works best when every side believes they're the heroes of their own story. Everybody, basically, you won't get these pitches like, we're corrupt and we're trying to screw people over. It's more like, hey, we're in the right here, and they'll probably even paint other people as corrupt, even if they're not, right? Yeah, it's that's the point. It's I have nothing against it. Your mind wanders, but I need your mind to not wander. So I gotta have a talk with you usually before the game and get you to focus. And the benefit is, it's not about kissing my ass, right? There's no ego boost for me. The benefit goes to you and your experience. You're the one who has a great time in the flow. So I always gotta make sure people don't take you the wrong way, because sometimes I'll preach it to a player and they'll think, well, if I give in to him, it's just kissing his. No, dude, it's your experience that is enhanced by doing it. It's you that gets the good time, and you'll then find out again why players wanted to play 8 hours back in the 80s, right? And then you'll also find out why combat wasn't the big issue back in the 80s and 90s as it is now. Because if you only hit flow mostly in combat, all these other areas become boring, right? And then you got to just tell people, don't bring your assumptions to the table, right? Here's what's going to be. We're going to set a standard before you get in. Here's what you're walking into, right? Okay. 1 second. All right. Sorry about that delay, but yeah, that's why it's good advice, because it's not so many people have egos that I think they take things the wrong way. You try and tell stuff to people in videos, they'll react to it poorly, like, well, I'm not going to do what the game master wants. Dude, it's about you. If you do it, you'll be like, the second you do it and you enjoy it, then you'll want to keep doing it, right? Sorry about any weird background noise. I just had to get rid of that. Okay, so yeah, let's move on. NPCs matter more than villains. Many RPGs revolve around defeating enemies. Babylon 5 often revolves around understanding people. Build memorable NPCs, ambassadors, officers, merchants, telepaths, journalists, intelligence agents. The player should remember names and relationships long after they forget a combat encounter. Create people, not monsters. So you really want to heighten up the personalities of the NPCs. Don't make them too generic. Have some idea of who they are and really, really push who they are. How could I say, like, just make sure that their goals are obvious. What they have is obvious. Their confidence might be obvious. You want to point that out. These are not like goblins yelling at somebody, right? Jeez. Dealing with that background noise got my head a little spacey for a second there, but we're good. We're good. Again. So remember, everybody in this world, if you're a Babylon 5 fan, you already know this. Everyone thinks they're the good guys, right? They're all going to think each other is the issue. That guy over there, we mean well, right? We're here. We have good reasons to be here. We're justified. So it's not like you're dealing with a bunch of like with people that think they're corrupt and don't care about the corruption. Secrets drive stories. The television series constantly used hidden motives, secret alliances, intelligence operations, conspiracies, information warfare. Your campaign should do the same. The best Babylon 5 stories often begin with something doesn't add up. So you'll be given something where it's like, it's good to start off where it's, if you think, okay, here's somebody who's done something wrong. It could be somebody who doesn't obviously seem corrupt to you straight up. It's like, well, why would he do wrong? Right? Or people can't believe around you that he's done wrong. So right away, some type of, when you start, have something happen. It doesn't mean they have to go on that adventure. It could be a bit of a sandbox. But there should always be stuff that seems like there's more to it. That's a constant thing. So there's always a reason to look behind the curtain on that thing. It's good to get players to be interested, right, in what's going on. Like, what happened there? It seems off. Because whatever happened to him would have happened to you. So secrets drive stories. And meaning, we're not storytellers. Story emerges. But when you want to do this stuff, you want to really have it, how could I put a freehand here? Well, first off, you do want to have certain things where it's always, everything going on always seems to be missing a piece out of it. Because every group, everybody's playing a game, everybody's playing politics, everybody's trying to cover their ass. That means almost everything you're going to hear is a mix of propaganda, lies, things that aren't obvious. And you don't have to just have one. Think about them like hooks. Something weird going on with him. Like, why did he do that? Well, that thing doesn't normally happen down here. Why did that happen? So it doesn't mean players have to take any of these hooks. But also, you could make it that, well, if it happened to him, it could happen to any of us. Right? Type of situations. And hooks can be attractive, but you don't need a railroad. You're still going to let players choose. But almost everything that happens should be, unless it happens before your eyes, in a more basic way, everything is sort of like, what's going on here, right? Everything is curious, secrets, propaganda, hiding stuff. Now, unless you know someone, at Ford, just that's a good way to make hooks in this game. Hooks just don't, because you want to play to what the group's already doing it. There's already groups to back up all this stuff. So Hook's like, over here, he needs a job done, or over here, he needs a job done. I would make almost no job or mission or adventure even obvious. It's you basically, you want to put stuff up where the way you're going to hear about somebody needing something done is to look at the mystery, right? So it's like, why this happened over here? You go look into it. There's a guy that needs something done over there. That's going to be behind the mystery. So obvious work or like a lineup of jobs needing to be at the end or something. Don't be so obvious. Make it interesting. But it's so important. You completely forget the time and place and become totally immersed. That's what gets you the 8 hours, dude. People wonder, like the short sessions now. I'm like, that does not have to be the way of the future. It's that flow set that once you're in, you're having a good time, and then it speeds by. And it's good to actually get you to practice not letting your mind wander. Because most of the time when people say they have their mind wander all the time, I'm like, well, that's not like something you're born with. That's a trait developed, right? From just the way you behave or the way you do things. So the more you're willing to do something else, yeah, get going. I let my cat in for a second. The more you are willing to start changing behavioral patterns, like doing things differently, you find you can do it. I guarantee once you understand the flow thing and get in, it's the secret behind every other game you'll play. Like, here's what happens to a lot of groups. You might have heard this, both you and Black Rose, where they'll say, man, I had this long campaign. It was really great. But ever since we've been sort of starting and stopping and things haven't been working out, it's just because they can't verbalize what happened to them, why that game was so good. They don't know. They don't know what. They don't know about the flow. They don't understand it verbally. They don't understand. They just were in it, but they don't understand it completely. My chest and feet, the table, and badly managed at the tables. Yeah, if you're not in flow, that's what gets people yawning 3 hours into the session, right? But anyway, so something doesn't add up. I want that to be important because it can connect to every group there is. Everyone has sort of even the best of the best have some type of deceit out there, something they're covering up. And if you have just the plain old mission over here, it's not going to be connected to what's going on. Think about the station like a place of constant deceit, not even on purpose sometimes, but constant covering up of truth. So every time you hear about something, what's that, right? It doesn't mean players have to chase that down, but that means there could be 5 different things going on, but there's never going to be a clear answer to any of them. All right. This is think long-term. So think long-term. This is one of the most important lessons. Do not resolve everything immediately. Babylon 5 is built on slow development, building tension, future consequences. Example, a minor diplomat insulted today might become a political rival, an enemy, a future ally, a major threat 10 sessions later. Babylon 5 rewards patience. Not every payoff should happen this week, meaning you can go ahead and mess with people, but things are going to change over time, right? So if you make a good friend now, he can get into a better position to help you later. If you make an enemy now, he can get into a better position to screw you, right? He might be insulted right now and walk away. What if he decides later he needs to make you pay for that? Or, ironically, could become a major threat. It's all within development. So think about the world still moving forward and people developing and things changing constantly. Politics are constantly happening where the person you say something to today, it can happen later. And as a game master, your job is to make sure things move. So when you're running the game, you have the players doing all this stuff and you want the players to be thoughtful about what they're doing, what they're running into. Well, okay, right now he's trying to get up the ladder. This guy they're going to insult. He's a little rich snob. Okay, well, you got to consider, does he get up the ladder? If it's 10 sessions later, it has to be something you concern yourself with to advance. And that makes it more interesting when they're picking stuff up. I was feeling the flow in most sessions. Just need that grit of challenging combat and thought-provoking NPCs. See, again, this is where I would say oh, that's so good. See, the grit, even the thought-provoking NPCs, all that should the thought-provoking NPCs should be somewhat happening. But in flow state, the combat can become secondary. It's how much you're actually enjoying what you're doing, like the more you're focused. So it doesn't mean combat won't happen, but it will happen. In some games, like Bushido, if I get you to focus on that, I could take you through 3 sessions with no combat at all. And the combat could be social. Like, you're a peasant, you can't talk to a noble a certain way. And you might think you'll be bored, but that just means you're not getting into the flow in the way I'm suggesting, because flow means you'll understand that if it's rare, if something is consequence, you'll actually enjoy it when it happens in a way that you can't if you just run for it. And old school wasn't about it being a game as much as an experience. So old school wants you to play a character in a world living. So that means you don't think I need to go have a fight, because that's a video game view, right? If you're in flow and playing, and it's like the samurai. You're playing a samurai. Do you kill if you have a duty to not kill, but something extreme has happened, right? The challenge, or somebody, you're trying to talk somebody out of a situation that they might do, right? That faction might start a war over here. And your job is to go in and talk to that guy and see if you can convince him not to, right? And if you're in flow and you're in the conversation and you just play to it, you play like you don't need something else. You don't let your mind wander. You don't wonder, I want, you play. I don't want you thinking you need something. That's mind wandering. You just play. And you won't even notice how much time goes by. You won't be like, man, I just needed some combat. No, not if you're playing. You won't even notice. We could have that conversation and you could have fun the entire time for an hour and a half. You wouldn't even notice in proper flow, because you'd be trying to talk that guy out of it. What about this? The more you're just playing to it, and then you get into flow where you're just accepting playing into whatever you're doing, you'll just play to it. This is where old school, most of the fights are really quick, but the odds fight could be really long. But if you're in flow state, even in combat, no longer are you complaining about a fight that takes an hour. And in combat where you've been in flow state in 5e, you'll know what I mean by this. I'm giving you an example that I know you'll understand. Some combat could be like 3 hours and boring. But if you're in flow state, you could do a 2-hour combat and be fine, right? Could be doing that too. My point is, the more you just focus on what you're meant to do as a player with your character, and you don't think about what's not happening, you're just focused on doing the thing. The first 10 or so minutes could be grindy in any session. It's when you hit the moment that everyone is just trying to do their thing. That's flow state, and you'll just play to it. And as long as you keep playing to it, time will go by like it's nothing. And then you'll be like an hour and a half, 2 hours in and go, it's been great. I'll be like, yeah, but there's been no combat. You'll realize you don't care. It'd be a eureka moment for you. Like, oh, yeah, it's been fine. No combat. Yeah. And you don't care because you're just playing to the thing. And old school understood that really well. Old school, that's why combat is so diddly. It's not important. It's about playing into a character and experience in the world. Old school games like this, like a game like this, the designer wants that from you. And if you see, here's what happens. Here's why I would give you the advice for this game type of thing, or old school games. If you try to play an old school game the way that you would say with 5e or somebody with 5e, you'll think the old school game is generic or boring because you're trying to get something out of the old school game it's not meant for. But if you go in and you just play exactly what the old school designer wants you to do, and we focus on that, and we get into flow state, you'll find that combat, it just doesn't mean as much as you thought. And then you start realizing why old school designers didn't care about it the way new school does. New school, because it skips all these things, the only flow state it creates is in combat. And even that's up and down. And the only problem with flow state with combat is it means all the other mind areas you're skipping. And most of the time, the book can handle the most basic combat stuff. That's why the book becomes raw. The book rules the game, and your DMs become a middleman. That's why 3rd edition, 4th edition, and 5e all had one consistent issue. Same thing with AD&D 1e. A lack of DMs compared to the amount of players. Right? Extreme problem. Right? All right. Step 5. Let actions have consequences. This is essential. Players should not be able to break agreements, make promises, start incidents, manipulate governments without consequences. So if you break an agreement, man, you don't just like, I've broken an agreement, didn't do the thing. Okay, so like if you just casually make promises, well, you can't just casually make a promise here and not do the thing. There's too many politics going on. There's too many people vying for power. If you, again, break agreements or break promises, you're in trouble. Start incidents. You start an incident, somebody's going to have to come see you. Right? Nothing is free here. Manipulate governments. Can you manipulate that government? Somebody else is always looking into it. Who was behind that? It was them. Well, now you messed with their deal. Right? So now they got to come see you. So nothing is ever just waved. In Babylon 5, everything echoes. Good question for every session. Here it is. Ask yourself, what effect will this have 3 sessions from now? So as a game master, you have to be applying all this, right? You have to make sure that if they break an agreement, right, or if they make a promise, they can't just casually forget. It's not a video game. And the game designer, for it to be Babylon 5, it intends for you to actually make this a big issue. You make a promise, you got to come through. You broke an agreement, somebody, you could be getting on a ship and, you start thinking to yourself, what's going on here? And next thing you know, ship explodes. Oh, there goes your characters. Why'd you die that way? Well, you broke an agreement with the wrong people. Right? It's like, or start incidents. Well, again, now you got people coming after you. You can't just go fight that guy and make him look stupid in public. Right? That's politics. That is bad PR for him. And the consequences to him, if you're playing politics here, could be very fatal publicly. So it's up really to the game master to make sure that's all a reality, to be considering these things and really applying not just consequences to you, but the consequences the people need to deal with that you've fucked with, and then why that would drive them to want to deal with you. So as a game master, you always got to understand that there's a bigger game going on behind everything. And every public incident is important. Everything is deeply important. And when you fuck with somebody, there's usually somebody who's been screwed with beyond that, or somebody who has an ego that's upset. You can't just hurt my younger brother. That means people will look at me weak. Right? Oh, you said that guy just go beat up your younger brother. Did you do anything about it? Well, then why should I take you serious? So then if you're just the guy that beat him up, well, now he has to come deal with you. So he lets other people know, if you fuck with my family, you die. Right? So the game master has to think that way constantly and apply it to every action that the player characters are doing. You have to take it serious. Or they could be trying to get you locked up, not just kill you. Like, have a crime committed. You hear about a crime committed. Like, oh, okay. You just hear about it casually because you screwed somebody over. Next thing you know, security is showing up to arrest you. Why? Because your name was brought up as the one being accused. Or your names as a group. So it's players can't just let their characters walk around and casually fuck around in this type of world because everyone is trying to get ahead. Everything is happening for a reason. Now, there's some maybe lower class stuff you can do, but consequences don't always have to be bad either. You're seeing beating up some guys that were going to hit a woman. Guy likes you. He wants you in his group. Or he wants to hire you, right? With an Eberron setting, much more organized. Game starts an entire month out from today. Dive in and just do whatever you see the others doing. Like, don't go in expecting anything other than play. And here's what I would say to you, Forgotten Planet. If the game master is slow in it and slowing you down and taking you out of it, not you taking yourself out of it, that's an issue. But just play. Just keep playing. If the DM gets in the book, that's an issue. I mean, I can't create flow for you outside of what, if you play and the game master keeps playing to it, that's pressure on the other players to play, but you need everybody on the same page too. So when I do when I talk to my players, I just get everybody on the same page. Like, if I'm looking through the book and this guy's trying to play the game, I'm screwing his efforts. Right? So it's me, the game master, mainly that needs to want the flow thing happening. And as long as you're come to the table and you give me the focus, my promise is to you, no matter how grindy it might seem for the first time, 5-10 minutes that you're playing, getting into it, if you just keep focusing, the grind goes away. Then we're in. And I'll make sure there's NPCs around, there's other things you can do around. And just like, say, starting off with an old school D&D game, it'd be like, I like putting pressures on. So one good thing is to have pressures. Like, I like to do this in every game. Like, there's a reason why you and the other characters can't just sit around. You owe money for something. Maybe you need to pay your rent for this thing over here. Right? Maybe you need to collect money to get that thing. Right? But there's only a limited amount of time. But a sort of form of pressure that says, no matter what happens next, you can't just sit there or you'll fail. It doesn't mean you can't sit there for a minute and talk to, it's common sense. You can talk to characters, but yeah. So I hope that all works out for you, right? Okay, players are important, not the chosen ones. A common mistake is making the player characters the center of galactic history. Babylon 5 already has major figures: Sheridan, Dellen, Sinclair, Londo, Jakar, Bester. The players don't need to replace them. Better approach: let players influence events, affect outcomes, change lives, shape local situations without necessarily becoming the single most important people in the galaxy. You don't need to play as if they're going to be guys with statues built to them. These are people in the world. They can do these things, but you don't need to make them, Luke Skywalker. Your people don't need to become Sheridan. They need their own story inside a Babylon 5 universe, meaning you don't need to purposely have them replace certain guys or become that version of a thing. Just let the characters develop as the players play, right? Let them affect the world. And if that becomes something that, through that influence and say reputation building, let them build up what that means. It's like pay attention to how the player behaves with the character. Let them be known for who they are, rather than trying to have them take up a certain role, right? Especially if you're a Babylon 5 person who likes the game. I've read about all these characters regardless of not watching the show. I've always understood what what that meant because super fans might want to play certain roles. No, let people develop into who they are, right? Oh, yeah. Regardless of what I say, I really do hope it all works out for you there. If I didn't say the proper nice words, I do hope it kicks ass. Main character syndrome. There you go. You don't need to do that to the players. You don't need to let them be that. You don't need to focus on turning them into that. Just let shit happen. Right? And the more success they have, the more the names of their own characters will build up in a natural way. Just let it happen. I almost wish some people didn't know about the setting going or the show going in, because that makes it a lot easier. You don't need to be these people. Just be your own character, build up your own legend, right? But it does happen. Every person I ran the game for knew about these guys. I want to be him. Dude, no, you just want to be your own character. Step 7, use combat sparingly. So I've done these in steps. Use combat sparingly, but make it matter. Combat absolutely belongs in Babylon 5. Wars shape the setting. Military service matters. Violence changes history. The key is combat should be meaningful rather than constant. When violence occurs, it should matter. Players should remember why it happened, what it caused, what changed because of it. So remember, I said, if you attack that guy's brother, this is what it is. If you did something violent, maybe it's getting you locked up or cut off from going to a certain place. And why did it happen? Why did you have the conflict with that guy? It's going to be important later when you're going to be confronted, and maybe you want to talk your way out of a bad situation. So combat, because the consequence part of the game, combat is not throwaway. It's not something you casually get into. If you get into combat, shit is coming down on you. And in one way or another, something is negative. It's going to, most likely come your way. So you want to know why it happened so you can make your argument if you weren't the one that started it. What did it cost? Did you lose something? Is there a chance you're going to jail? Are you cut off from a location? What changed because of it? Like what about your situation now? You can no longer get that job. You can no longer do that thing. You can no longer talk to that person. So, and these consequences will be a real thing. This will happen because of combat. So combat is not boring, but it's not something you just do like you're walking through a dungeon in a D&D game. So just combat's be careful if you're going to go into it. Understand the potential outcome. So good Babylon 5 combat is political assassinations, security operations, military actions, covert missions, wartime engagements, endless random fights become the session needs action. It's because the session needs action. So you don't need that. You don't want, it's not endless random fights because the session needs action. Session should be, you're busy playing. It's like the talk we just had about combat not being that important in the flow, right? But when it does happen, maybe you got to take somebody down, but it will still be consequences, right? But it's a little less heat on you if you can get away with it, like, say, political assassinations. Security operations. It's a little easier when you're the security because you're just defending someone. The chances that you're going to be hurting the brother or doing the thing. Military actions. Again, there's a lot more forgiveness in that area, right? It's going to be justified, and hopefully you're not in too much military. Covert missions. Well, that's how you got out of the place. Again, more covering your ass, less being cut off from things, right? So it's wartime engagements again. That's military actions. It's a way to do combat without it being a complete wrecking ball to the game. But again, you don't want it where it's endless random fights because the session needs action. If people are playing in the flow, they'll play entire sessions and they'll be stuck in the politics, dealing and not getting the caught doing this, trying to get the deal done. They should have a great time deep in the flow. And by the end of the session, you're like, okay, session's over. And they're like, okay. And you're like, yeah, there was no combat. It shouldn't even fucking matter. And it doesn't. Not in a real flow game. It just won't matter. Again, and it's old school in this way. This is old school because we're talking about early 2000, 2010. This is not 5e where the only flow time you get is mostly in combat. This is old school. They want you to feel Babylon 5. They want you to be a person in that world. They don't care about the gamey aspect of a video game, right? So it's not a video game. You're role playing as a character to experience the world, to be a character in the world, right? Very important to how old school looks at gaming. Step 8 here, make ideology matter. One thing that separates Babylon 5 from many science fiction settings is belief. So as a game master, go back to combat. If your players are playing wise, but you're going to put combat into the game, you're not looking to put combat into the game, say through their missions, through the things you'll offer in that way, that is meant to completely fuck them. So when they take action, say fighting the guy in the bar and they fought the brother, that's not something you put in there. Unless you do have a reason, you can have a reason, but most of the time that shouldn't happen with you playing that out. It doesn't mean you don't take advantage. Consequences can still be flavor, right? Even having somebody try to kill you can still be flavor. All that can still be flavor, but it's not free. It just means what I'm saying is, even if that's interesting in its own way, having somebody come after you for what you've done, somebody's going to come after the characters for what they have done. It's you, the game master, that needs to make all that real. Right? Just nonchalantly walking around and hitting people is not something the station would accept. Security would be after people. If you fuck with the wrong group, the group is coming after you, or the group is going to talk to another group that is going to look weak. It's going to be consequences all over the place based on what you do. Or maybe you hit the wrong group and they leave instead of staying for important trade talks, right? Which becomes vital because that could start a war. So just understand, you go back to combat. Careless combat has major consequences. Doesn't mean mission combat can't, but it's another way where it's planned consequences as part of the mission, and you have a little bit of an easier most of the time for the player characters if they perform well. So that's something to consider with combat. So back to step 8 here. Make ideology matter. One thing that separates Babylon 5 from many science fiction settings is belief. Characters should have convictions. Ask, what does this character believe? And expect an answer. What are they willing to sacrifice, right? Like for whatever they believe. What line won't they cross regardless to what they believe? So you start off, what do they believe? What would you be willing to sacrifice in the aim of defending that belief? Like, are you willing to die for it? What line won't you cross? Will you kill somebody over this issue? And if they would or wouldn't, it does matter. So the player knows too. Have the player know so they know their own lines with their own character, so they can. It makes it a lot easier to role play that character in a situation when you understand he'll die for this. Well, then you can speak confidently with your character. I'll give up my life to stop this from happening. And it's important for emotional situations like, hey, if it comes down to, I hate to say it, but this is where the game does say story emerging becomes a little slightly more important than gaming aspects. Okay, here's the player going, my character will go on the ship and do the thing. The other player's like, look, like, your character would die. He'll die for this. That's epic, dude. And when you can feel it, that's epic, right? Doesn't mean you just do it nonchalantly, but once you say this to yourself as an answer as a player about your character, you get to know your character. And the more you get to know your character, what strange thing happens is you can connect to your character and respect your character. And out of that respect, you'd be doing the character wrong if the character becomes a coward in the face of, hey, this is what he would do. This is who he is. Or maybe he wouldn't cross the line. So as much as he believes this, he won't kill that guy. Right? He just won't kill that guy for this. So it's elements that are meant to challenge you, but also meant to understand your character right away early. So it's ideology, and ideology is a big thing because Every person pretty much has it at this point. You're playing into a political world. Your character will have it on some level. The game wants you to feel it because every to be part of Babylon 5, this is what it expects. When you meet a Babylon 5 character, they are on one side of a fence or another. It's just how it works. Use moral dilemmas. Babylon 5 constantly presents situations where there is no perfect answer. Questions like duty or conscience, peace or justice, security or freedom, loyalty or truth should appear regularly. If every problem has an obvious solution, it probably doesn't feel like Babylon 5. So you can have peace and leave people alone. Hey, that guy did the right thing, but he did break the law. And law says he should go to jail. He broke the law. Peace or justice, right? And it can make games like this so good because you start realizing combat becomes, the more you play the game, this is where I'm showing you combat can become so secondary and meaningless and compared to, say, like old school games really matter in this way. But you got to have a game master that's actually doing this to you, right? Like actually, so this is use moral dilemmas. This is me advising the game master, not say playing, right? You got to put up the duty or conscience, peace or justice, security or freedom, and really put it to players, right? They should be regularly encountered because there's so much politics here. There's so many situations where do you stay loyal to the group and shut your mouth? Or do you tell the security at the station the truth? And that's a challenge for you, but it helps a little bit when you know the other answers too, about the ideology of the character. So the dilemmas become not so obvious to answer, but still, at least you'll understand the challenges of them, but it makes you a bit more confident instead of getting stuck. So the more you know about your character, the more this doesn't get you stuck, but you feel it. And the more you play to the stuff, the more you feel it. Remember, old school wants you to feel the world, to feel the experience, to feel it's for real. And the more you play to this without seeing it like a video game, I need action, you start realizing old school realized it's just old school is action is so secondary. Action could be consequences. Action could be this. It doesn't need to be a video game where you need to go, I need to fight. Because you could be so stuck in this and doing stuff like this all the time that you're so, like, it's so exciting that by the end of playing the politics and working your way up to reputation and making friends and getting the hookup, getting over here and getting the mission done, you start realizing all the excitement that you think only comes to you through combat comes to you through all these elements. So then the need for combat starts not being there in the same way because you start realizing what you were getting from combat, you're also getting from this. And it's once you realize you're getting the thing that you wanted, you realize you don't need the combat for the thing anymore. So combat can become something that only happens every so often instead of being something you need for like a video game approach. I need some combat or it's getting boring. No, if you play to this, you won't be bored. Combat will be actually, if you more than play to this, when combat could potentially start in a game like this, if you're really enjoying and playing into it, you'll be concerned about what combat actually means. It's like, oh shit, these guys want to fight us, but who are these guys? Who are they with? Do we want to fight these guys? But what if it's like part of that? Man, that's a beautiful moment. That's a beautiful moment when you needing the combat means nothing anymore. And now you're going, what if we fuck with these guys and it's with them? Then you're in the mind game, right? Now you're role playing. Now you're really role playing. Forget all that board game, video game shit. Now you're in a proper tabletop role playing game, right? Now you're in the real thing, as we would say, right? This is old school, and it's something that new school lost because the majority, sadly, do not appreciate the deeper side of the game. Now, if you have a mind for this stuff, you're fine. Or bad game mastering could lead you to doing a lot of combat. So how the game is presented to most people is really awful. If you meet a hobbyist like me who understands how to run a game like this and give it to you properly, and then I talk with you before the game starts and you play to the game and I get you into flow, well, then you realize, I'm not trying to brag here, but I'm part of that old elite guard. Right? So when you hear about the DMs being elite in the old school, it's a very small percentage, and that's hobbyist. Right? The majority of guys are normal, simple people when it comes to gaming. And the way that's why you would hear certain games are generic, like Bushido. It got criticized by many players as being generic. I run Bushido. I'm just using that as an example twice here. I just sort of random. But if I run it, it won't be generic. It will be what the designer intends. The only thing I need you to do is just focus and play. Right? Can you focus and play? I will run. I will be on. And I will get you to flow, and then we'll go in there for hours, but I'll also get you intensely into the, hey, you're the peasant, watch what you say to the noble. But I won't even teach you that. I'll let you get into the game and fuck up. You'll learn just by playing. You talk with an attitude to the noble, well, there's consequences, right? And you won't even know. If I have not warned you, you will not know, because that's feudal Japan, Bushido, and I mentioned that game, right? But it's interesting. Remember, the station is alive. This is where I was talking to Black Rose earlier, because he's played one where he's went off to space, and I'm like, I preferably run the station quite a bit, because you have all this stuff going on I'm talking about. Babylon 5 itself should feel alive. The station is not just a location, it is a political center. You're getting it. You totally get it. So see, when you get someone who realizes, oh, Steven's not saying this to feed his fucking ego. I'm not here to brag. I'm really here to help, because I like to give back to the hobby and give back to people and help. I'm a game master who tries to enhance people's experience, not have smoke blown up my ass, right? So when I talk, once you realize that and you start taking in what I'm saying without thinking I'm trying to fucking talk like I'm up here, the examples in your own head you start realizing, yeah, I set up really nice scope plan with my familiar that used a PC's item, and that's more fun than the combat that followed. 1,000,000%. It's just reminding yourself that you can have those moments, and how a lot of that can happen. A lot of it. And not just combat, but imagine you're setting up plans to blow something up. It blows up. That went down. You got to move over here. So sometimes there's not even combat that follows, but there's just more shit that follows, right? More stuff and more stuff and more stuff. So again, the station is not just a location. It is a political center. I love to use it that way. A trade hub, a military outpost, a diplomatic meeting place. Every corridor should feel connected to something larger. The group, what's going on there. The station should feel like a character in that campaign. So that's why I say I don't mind the idea of going up to space and do all that. But if you have a game master that skips over the station and the politics and the shit you can run into and the people you're going to meet and the fucking just continuous shit, it's just there to fucking be ran into, man, you're missing out. And a game master that doesn't run, like, see all the advice I gave before this? If you follow all the pieces I suggested, that brings this place to life. Now, it also helps with space travel and all that, who you're going to meet and all this stuff. All the previous advice is good, but it really helps really bring that station to life when you start thinking about the consequences, the events that are happening around that have mystery behind them, right? So it's all these different hooks for you to go look into. You got to be careful with everything you're doing. Man, it keeps players on edge. And a little bit of pressure about owing money or something like that just helps players have, instead of feeling like their characters are sitting around with nothing to do, you know you got something you got to do. But what is it? You don't know. But you hear about some shit. Let's go check that out. because at least that gets you the information, right? And so a mix of the hooks, you needing to do something, so the pressure, and then you realize all the potential politics that can happen. You got to watch who you talk to. Are you going to make friends with this guy? What does that mean? Right? Do you want to be friends with him? But what if these guys over here see you being friendly with him? Do they like the fact that you're talking so nice to him? Ooh, and then everything is on edge every time you're walking. But it's not to put panic on you. It's to make it that you're always needing to focus on what you're doing. And it's all interesting because you don't see guys looking at you in a certain way. It's like, they see us talking to him. Right? And it's like, who do you want to be when he says, hey, look, one of you guys come over here, I'll help you. What does that mean? Are you cutting yourself off from them? Are they important to help you later? Could they have got you the job? Do you cut this guy off? But what if you do? Right? Is that an opportunity gone? Holy fuck, right? Holy fuck. You should be on the edge every time you're walking around having fun. Remember that hope matters. I said about that hope thing, right? The game really plays on. This is one of the most overlooked parts of Babylon 5. It can be. The setting contains war, betrayal, corruption, tragedy, but it's not grim dark. At its heart, Babylon 5 is about hope. It really does push us in the game. Cooperation, building a better future, people choosing to do the right thing, even when it's difficult. Babylon 5 isn't about preventing darkness. It's about proving that darkness doesn't win. So, look, put it this way. The game outright is going to expect you to not be playing evil characters. I got to be real with you. Like, you could pull it off, but the game, it really makes it hard for evil characters. So if you run around just doing twisted stuff, it can be very challenging. You can pull it off, but it can be extremely challenging. It doesn't mean it's not challenging the other way, right? It depends. The gray zone is actually okay. The gray zone is not too bad, where you're not that bad of a person, but you're not perfectly good either. The gray zone can actually work. You're just letting players know that. But as a game master, understand that you're not there to care about how the players play the game. If they play stupidly, trying to be corrupt, let them. The game's going to take care of the consequences. You just need to apply them. Your job is not to teach lessons. You're not a teacher. You're not mommy and daddy. You don't hate your players for what they do. You just let players play, right? If they play in the gray zone, be fair with them. Don't take it personal. Don't be a judge. Don't be someone who needs to put your shit on their head outside of the game. You let players play. You are the judge, or you're the referee. You're the fairness of the whole thing. They play gray. Fair enough. That can go in their favor. You know, if they get away with corrupt stuff, based on the reality of the situation, you let things play out as they should. So you don't try to force a lesson. You don't punish for doing something that's not your job to punish. You let common sense of the consequences you think through. Would they be punished for that? Well, this group might want to protect them for what they did. If that's the reality of the thought you come up with, it's not that you're promoting it. You just got to play ref and be fair, right? If some group would offer, hey, guys, come over here. We'll fucking take care of you. That's just, you got to let the game be what it is. What breaks the game? Treating it like a generic space adventure. Don't, man. Everything I just told you, if it doesn't sound exciting to you guys listening into this, I don't know what else to tell you. All right, as a game master, you should want to make this the game. Like, everything I'm telling you is get it right. Make them feel. Play to the consequences. Don't worry about being generic. Don't be generic, so it won't be generic. So treating it like a generic space adventure. Don't use a game master. Take it in that way. Just like I'm going to treat it that way. Making every problem. So this is what breaks the game. Making every problem combat focused. That's not what this game's about. Ignoring the politics. Ignoring consequences. Resolving plots too quickly. Like not letting things play with all the things that could be around that would just never play out instantly at all. Making NPCs disposable. NPCs should be very important to the game. You're not making monsters. You're making people that are interesting. Remember, I told you earlier, give them sort of an interesting idea of who their personality is. Let that develop over time. Presenting every conflict as good versus evil, don't do that. We have a gray zone here. That's why I said about the gray zone. Everybody thinks they're good. Right? So there's not just your typical good versus evil. Everybody thinks they're on the good side. Removing moral complexity. Again, that goes back to that complexity. That means some of the guys that you might look at and go, man, he's evil, or they might be evil. It's until you see them give, like, until as a game master, you realize based on the group, that soldier would give his life for his leader, right? In a very brave, courageous way. Might even give his life for his family. And so, how evil is he? Right? Is he exactly what you think he is? It shouldn't be that simple. Let the complexity play out. What makes it work? Long-term story arcs, memorable NPCs. I told you all this. Conflicting agendas. Again, that's all that stuff I told you. Secrets and conspiracies. The secrets looking. Political consequences, character beliefs, moral dilemmas, meaningful combat. Meaningful. It always means something. Hopeful themes. Right? That there's always somebody, even if it's not the characters right away, there's always a lean towards hope that the future is going to be better and people trying to make that happen, right? Now, you can choose to either aid that or let that slide, but a game master should be having certain groups in there trying to make things better. And if it's shown to the characters can decide, the players can decide how they want to react to that. Running Babylon 5 is less about creating adventures and more about creating pressure between people, governments, and ideals. You're not running missions. You're running a living political ecosystem. It means you should almost never need a mission to a certain point. Like, shit should just be at one point missions come in. But it's like, realistically, you should be so active in this that's not stop. You just start playing. Shit just starts happening. Right? And that's it. Like, you're already in. Like, to me, when you start Babylon 5, you've already started the adventure, baby. The whole thing is the fucking adventure, right? To run Babylon 5 successfully, focus less on battles and more on relationships, loyalties, beliefs, and the consequences that ripple outward from every decision. I hope I've really made that a real thing for you guys. I'm going to have a smoke before. I was going to jump right to the next part, but I hope you guys are enjoying. I hope I'm doing a good job on this. So that's running the game. And I love Babylon 5, the game. So I'm telling you what I experienced, like, because I'm a guy who can bring these games to life. So it's like I needed to watch a show. I just needed to understand what the designer was looking for. And I figured it'd be aiming towards whatever Babylon 5 is. And then I just make it interesting in my own way. I pump it up in my own head. I play to the things. And I've done this stuff, similar stuff in other old school games. So I know how to bring this stuff to life and really make it's like gangbusters. I go back. It's one of the early games where I learned that like having things happen with consequences had to be pretty active, pretty fast, all the time, really coming at you. So gangbusters was a great teaching tool for that type of gameplay. And when I got to this, I knew right away, yeah, give me the station. I'll bring that to life. I'll have people fucking around everywhere. Right. And I can improvise a lot. So as long as I have basic information about groups and all that, I know what they would do. I'm going to have a few of those guys in there. And I wouldn't just randomly put it in carelessly. I'd be like, okay, they would definitely have a group down around that area, probably looking for some trade stuff. So I'd reason it out whether they are not just randomly. But once I'd be able to improvise, some stuff be planned, some stuff be improvised. But I can improvise. I can make decisions really quick. Provide myself information. And so by the time I get it to you, it's always going to seem realistic. I'm not worried about that. And then it's a mix of improvising and planned stuff. And so I go from there. But I can bring that whole place to life. And I love politics. I love hey, you see this guy today, but then I decide, okay, later, did he die? Did he get somewhere? What would I have had him do? It's not hard for me to think of things that he could have done and decide, okay, he's going to have taken. Sometimes I'll leave it to a dice roll too to make decisions for potentials like that. Sometimes I just decide. I never put a rule on myself because there's a bit of the what I feel. Like, so outside of what you guys are off doing this, but over time, this guy might go up the ladder. Do I feel he would? Not sure. Dice roll. No, I won't let him. But if I feel he should, or he would, yeah, I'll say he's had success with this. He's moved up. He's taken over that position. He's going to be the second in command now in this place. When you first meet him, he's just a lowlier other guy trying to compete his way up to a higher position. And maybe he's your friend if you're lucky. Or maybe you made an enemy. And some guys aren't enemies right away because they're not capable of dealing with you. So how can they become enemies later? He's moved up to a spot now where he's capable of dealing with you. So he wasn't a threat as the lowly guy that you put in his place earlier. Now he is. So that's part of consequences too. Should you have fucked with him earlier? And it's meant to be. Babylon 5 wants this constant challenging type of situation. You're always playing politics. You're always on the edge. And from what I was told when I was running it, everyone said to me that we're Babylon 5 fans. This is exactly how the TV show does this stuff. It's like, well, it makes sense. I'm just doing what the designer wants. So if they're really trying to get Babylon 5 and I'm doing the things, we should be getting Babylon 5, right? So there's constant pressure, constant negotiations. I bet you Black Rose is listening, but maybe busy. I hope he's listening. Jeez. Forgotten Plaid might be busy for a second. Not sure. On the members only, it doesn't show me the count for who's watching. So I don't see. I hope I'm still connected. I hope we're all good. I hope I haven't lost anyone. But Black Rose would let me know on Discord if that were the case. So hurry up. Here I am. Taking a breather here for a second, guys. Just peekabooing. Peekabooing. After I do this, we'll get into character creation. After I finish this. At least now, Black Rose was asking me, what do I think about influence in the game? Well, dude, I hope all the details you're hearing is covering my opinions well enough that you know. I just give a shit about everything. As a game master or even as a player, I try not to play favorites on anything. I just try to love everything. So even if I do combat, I don't care if you go into combat. I'm never against you doing combat. I understand the consequences, but I'll do combat fun. Like I'll do everything. Every part of the game to me is just love it. When I run old school, I love social interaction. I love combat. I love dealing with the traps. I love dealing with the puzzles. I love dealing with the whatever you're in. And I don't sit there and go, I prefer one thing over the other. I just go, I love everything. And if I do more of one thing than the other, I don't care. It's about the experience with it, the flow with it. That's all that's important to me. So if we did social interaction most of the gaming session, if not all of it, was it fun? Was it you doing almost like social combat, right? Negotiating your way through stuff, watching out for who you are messing with, leaving stuff behind. Like it's in that way. I'm not trying to judge what I need. I only focus on making everything we're doing good. And I focus on just loving every part of the game. So I never had this whole, Do you like combat more than this? I never think of it that way. And I'm also doing members only, trying to show you guys that even if I have a small audience and I don't have the big 100,000, whatever the fuck watching, I go 110%. I just hope, with the lack of reaction here, that people are actually still watching. Doesn't mean you won't pick it up later. Clicking through a few things, guys. Sorry about that. Checking some notes. Oh, that went up a few. Well, even if you don't respond, at one point I'm going to jump into character creation. And I'll just perform. And you guys, if you're sitting back listening somehow, even if the world's falling apart on you, even if a nuke just hit and I just don't realize it, I'll be going. Not trying to bore anybody who might be watching this later. Sorry for a little bit of quiet time here for a moment. Just getting my head around the situation. I could keep going if I want to. I just don't want to focus too much away from Babylon 5 and presenting that. Just verifying something here, folks. Be patient with me for a second. I'm clicking away here. Being quiet. Usually I'm not. I don't like being quiet on the stream ever. Ever. I'm just verifying a few notes. Okay. Well, either way, guys, you had a chance to say something about the game mastering stuff. We'll see if you talk during the next part. If not, I'm just going to go into perform. I hope this is all going right. Just to make sure. Oh, I checked everything. That's good. Could just be you guys being busy. Fair enough. All right. Let's jump into it. Character creation. Building a person, not a build. A lot of science fiction RPGs encourage players to think, what is the strongest character I can make? Babylon 5 works better if you ask, who is this person and what place do they have in the galaxy? Now, old school, if you listen to many of the old school coverage games I've done, this is common. This is a common old school thing, which is who is the person? How do they fit into the world? Which is how do they fit into the galaxy in this case, right? So even from 2000 2010, the old school mindset in many of the games still exists, right? The setting is full of diplomats, officers, traders, scientists, journalists, telepaths, intelligence agents. The game shines when characters feel like they belong in the world. I had a small disconnection. Or you did. You had a small disconnection. Really important information here, Black Rose. Okay. But you heard everything. That's good. As long as you heard it, I don't care. That's good. Did you enjoy? Did you take it in well, the coverage for the how to run it? Right. Because I want not just to sell it, I want to inspire people to want to do that with the game. Because that's the way I experience it. It's like, man, if you don't want to do that, geez, if you don't want to have that experience with this game, you're missing out. It's just like I always want players to, especially game masters, I want them to want to create that world so players can really be in the world with their character, right? Really be into it and diving into what's going on, right? To me, it's not corny to say that. I really, really, genuinely, really deeply have that focus, right? So the game shines when characters feel like they belong in that world. All right, we're on our steps. Step 1, start with your role in the setting. Before touching numbers, answer, what does your character actually do? Remember, this is a character creation advice for players. Examples, Earth Force Officer, Narn Freedom Fighter, Centauri Noble, Minbari Religious Caste Member, Merchant, Diplomat, Security Officer, Reporter, or even a telepath. Why this matters. Your profession is not just a collection of abilities, it determines who knows you. So all that stuff I just told you, you decide like what group would you want to be in. Like this is going to be connected to all that stuff, right? As long as you heard it, you're fine. I don't know how much you missed. But yeah, you really should re-listen to it, man. That it sells really well. I hope. I think I knocked that out of the park. So why this matters? Your profession is not just a collection of abilities. It determines who knows you, who trusts you, who wants something from you. Those connections become adventure hooks. They be part of the whole hook thing, right? But there are pressures on you too, right? Who's going to want to see you? Who's going to trust you? Who knows you? So these are connections, pressures right from the start of the game, right? Pressures are going to help you decide to move, hear about things, and then want to go find things out, right? And then the hooks, there could be some hooks in there, but you want to start with that mystery stuff I talked about earlier. But for characters, for players, this is going to move them towards trying to go, say, let's go see what they want us to do. right? So even if there's not something obvious, you're going to hit in the direction. Maybe something happened over there. Uh, Decide who you represent. This is one of the most important parts of Babylon 5, a Babylon 5 character. Babylon 5 is filled with organizations, governments, and factions. Ask, who am I connected to? Examples: Earth Alliance, Centauri Republic, Nar Regime, Minbari Federation, Psi Corps, Rangers, Corporations, Independent Worlds. Why this matters: in Babylon 5, people are rarely speak only for themselves. They often represent governments, causes, institutions, ideologies, meaning it's a bit of social pressure too, because if you do something, do you make your group look bad? So that's another consideration for the player when they're walking through playing the game. In Babylon 5, your character is rarely just an individual. They're often connected to something much larger than themselves. Species matters. Unlike many RPGs, species in Babylon 5 is more than appearance. Major races, there's language for both. The major races have very different cultures and worldviews. Humans, adaptable and diverse, can fit almost any role. Narn, often shaped by hardship, survival, and national identity. Centauri, proud, ambitious, political, and deeply tied to status. Minbari, highly spiritual and tradition focused. Others, the setting includes many additional races depending on the campaign and supplements. Important advice here: don't choose a race because of statistics. Choose one because the culture interests you. Babylon 5 stories often come from cultural differences. And, if you're not always going to be in combat, these statistics, they can be important, right? But really, you're going to be role playing. You're going to be in a world where what you do outside of just rolling your skills in that becomes very important. So to make sure it's something that's going to interest you, right? And also understand what it can mean in comparison to what's already in the world, right? Now, if you're a Babylon 5 fan, you're going to know all this stuff, but it's really important just to say, don't come into the game looking at statistics, especially if you're new to Babylon 5, which I had a few people that were. You want them to be interested in what they're going to play because there's so much more to the game. So step 4, build motivations, not just abilities. The strongest Babylon 5 characters usually want something. Ask yourself, again, this is what do I believe? What do I want? What would I risk for everything for? And who do I owe loyalty to? Good examples: restore family honor, protect colony, advance my government, discover hidden secrets, prevent another war. A good Babylon 5 character has goals before they have skills. Meaning, when you're reading through the culture, it's going to tell you a lot about who the person potentially is. You want to ask right away. You want to know who your character is before you pick stuff, because it's actually good to know before you start getting into the skill area of the game and everything. So you have an idea who the character is, so you can line up everything with that, right? Give yourself a secret. This is step 5. Babylon 5 is full of characters hiding something. Consider a hidden loyalty, a past mistake, a secret mission, a family connection, information nobody else knows. Helpful question: what doesn't everybody know about my character? A good answer can create months of campaign material, right? You can share this information with the game master, but it's more about like hiding it from the world and even hiding it from the other characters. Like, this is what I mean about give your character a secret. Work with the game master so it's not just something the game master ignores, right? But also it's something you as a player keep to yourself. Don't even tell the other players. So give yourself a secret. Relationships create stories. Think about friends, rivals, mentors, family, political allies. The most memorable campaigns often grow from relationships rather than missions. A rival ambassador can create more drama than an enemy fleet. They can flip your world upside down, take everything from you. That's the point, right? Politically, they could rob you of everything you're working for. Step 7, flaws matter as much as strengths. One of the biggest mistakes players make is trying to create a flawless character. Babylon 5's greatest characters all have weaknesses. Think about pride, ambition, anger, fear, loyalty, taken too far, obsession. Why this matters? Flaws create drama, conflict, growth. Your flaw may be more important than your best skill. It just can make flavor to the game. It can make the game more flavorful. It can bring flavor to your experience, and challenges you too, right? Depending on who your character is. Is he an angry person? Does he get angry really easily? Well, and if you're always calm in every situation, you're not role playing anymore. You're developing a character. Even if you feel calm, you always have to consider this part of role playing and developing the character, and it makes it interesting for you to step out of your zone and think, my guy might flip out about that. Well, if he would, this is one of the moments where it's a type of game where being true to the character matters, right? Being true to the character matters. But it's also in a world where you're surrounded by potentially dangerous consequences. But this is, in my opinion, it's all flavor. It's all interesting, right? Play it for what it is. Do not hold back. Play it for what it is. Live in the world. Be part of it. Think about where you fit. Ask, why am I on Babylon 5? Or if the campaign is elsewhere, why am I involved in these events? Good answers create immediate story opportunities. Examples, assigned by Earth Force, sent by a government, running a business, investigating a mystery, serving a diplomatic aid. So having general ideas of why your group, or even here's my advice to players, with their characters. Outside of your secret stuff, what you're generally there to do, make sure that the characters don't have too many conflicting things. You don't want to be pulling all these different directions. So see how well your goals can line up with each other and talk before the game. So you can make decisions that line up the goals just a bit more. Maybe even get you mostly on the same page, playing the same group. It's up to you guys, players. But the more they conflict, the more it's going to be harder to take care of everything without it clashing. And you don't want to have conflict between player characters, not in this way, not in this game. There's going to be enough trouble coming your way. So consider lining your stuff up a lot more than separating. Don't assume combat is most important. Is the most important specialty. Babylon 5 campaigns often involve diplomacy, investigation, actually very little combat, to be honest, in most cases. Investigation, politics, espionage, crisis management, negotiation. The game absolutely supports specialists. A telepath, a diplomat, intelligence officer, or a pilot can all be highly focused characters. The key lesson is simply combat ability is not automatically the most valuable thing you can bring to the table. Just understand, it's just not the most valuable thing. Doesn't mean there's no importance for it, but it's just not as valued as much as you would maybe want it to be. In some cases, depending on somebody, there are assumptions coming into the game. Drop those assumptions, come in looking for something else. Step 10, leave room for growth. This is one of the most defining traits of Babylon 5. Many of the series' most memorable characters change dramatically over time. They evolve. Their beliefs change. Their priorities change. Sometimes their entire worldview changes. So even though you start with this, what would you do? What would you do? Don't just randomly change it for some cheap gamey thing, but be willing to consider how something affects you and how you might change it, right? Like, and justify it. Like, man, that happened. Maybe I should have killed him, even though my character didn't. And when you really feel like you've had to change, my advice right away is speak to the game master, right? Like, talk to the game master. Like, my character has come to the point where he definitely would be willing to kill somebody who did that the next time. Good character design. Don't create a finished character. Create a character with room to grow. Babylon 5 isn't about who a character is today. It's about who they'll become. Common, now, so we just talked about it, but let's go over this. Common character creation mistakes. Creating a generic action hero. Babylon 5 is filled with memorable personalities, not generic protagonists. Ignoring culture, species, and background should influence how a character sees the universe. Having no goals, characters without motivations often feel directionless, like they just have no direction. Having no weaknesses, perfect characters rarely create memorable stories. Building only for combat, many campaigns spend more time solving problems than fighting. Making a great character. A great character usually has a clear role, strong convictions, meaningful relationships, personal goals, cultural identity, connections to larger organizations, interesting flaws, secrets, and as we already talked about, room to evolve. The best Babylon 5 characters aren't defined by what they can do, they're defined by what they believe, what they're connected to, and what they're willing to sacrifice. Build someone who belongs in an episode of Babylon 5, not someone who belongs in a shooting gallery. Babylon 5 character creation works best when you're creating a person with loyalties, flaws, ambitions, secrets, and convictions, not simply assembling statistics on a character sheet. Are you with me here, Black Rose? Just want to know before I dive in the setting. And the setting is the last part, so I'll give you a minute to react to me here. See if you have anything to say on anything, because if you watch that part, we can talk about that for a second. Just want to make sure I'm giving you guys opportunities. I know maybe our friend there is not around, Mr. Paladin, or is busy. Okay, so really it's about creating that interesting world. Like the setting to the station to me is so much more addictive than just being out in space doing stuff, even though I think you can make anywhere interesting as long as you're playing to all these dilemmas. You always hope, when it comes to a new player, they might not know how deep the game is going to be, no matter how much I tell them. I always hope I can sell it to them that well, that they understand just how they can go about making a character. Because once you understand the game you're going to be in, then character creation should become much more interesting, especially when you don't feel locked to statistics, right? You're just not so concerned with them because all these other elements are just so important to the actual experience you're going to have in the game, right? It's like who you're connected to is important. Like you read about their culture. Yeah, okay, it's going to be wise to be connected to them. I'm going to make this type of character. It's like, it's so important. Every group thinks it's good in a way. Like in a way, they're on the right path, and maybe others are mistaken. Or in a way, you could even have a character that sees similarities between groups. So, and players should be talking about how do we make the group work together rather than finding conflicts all the time. So, is it even if he hates humans, the character, why would he be hanging out with this human, right? Influence can be very important depending on how it runs out. It's like, okay, I'll talk directly to you about it. You can have influence as far as certain people around, well, definitely like say the regular people, when you walk into an area, they pay more attention to you. If you suggest something to the lowly store, the lowly barkeep, the little trades merchant will definitely consider, what you have to say. If you tell people don't mess about, they may wisely walk away from a situation. But as well, influence can be a double-edged sword. Why? Well, if I want to prove a point, maybe I want to deal with the guy who has the most influence in the area. Or maybe you have people coming to you that don't mean well. Maybe the few corrupted people are coming to you wanting to deal with you and scamming you. So your attention can be good. Your influence over others can make that you can help manage the area and keep yourself out of conflict. But it can also attract conflict. You can even attract people that want to prove a point, because taking you down brings them up. Or maybe you'll get people that normally, that could even hurt your reputation. So there's always a threat to your reputation. As more people come to you because you initially have it. But how well does it hold, right? And how does it hold? And what kind of influence do you have, right? So I look at influencing being very too, like, you could be somebody nobody wants to mess with, but you're also a good, decent person. Or you have influence because, well, you're wise. When you talk. Yeah, I'm talking about the provoking part. And it might be somebody wanting to prove a point too. Like, if you're down here and the influence guy is up here, what if you take him down? What if you beat his ass? What if you, maybe conflict, physical conflict, but what if you come in and you start trying to have influence over people on purpose, like challenging your influence? And then what does it do? And how does it challenge? And maybe somebody wants to attack your reputation. Like, suddenly you start hearing things about yourself that's not true. But these lies can not just be hurting your reputation there. There can be consequences with the lies. So that only hurts your reputation. Now other people want to come deal with you. So good reputation can sometimes attract really bad stuff. So there's two sides to it, and you're living on an edge. It's almost like many people that know this, that will know reputation can get them there, want to live down here. I'll talk about real life. I live on that edge, say on YouTube and on certain areas here, where I can have a reputation up here, but certain people that are down here want to harm that. Like, it could be a good thing in many ways, and I have influence, but then people want to attack that influence, right? Or people want to use that influence in some cases. See, I have a lot of people out here that will attack my influence, but at the same time attack me for having a reputation or influence, but then will also want me to go on their streams, right? And no matter what you say, when you put me on streams with people, I usually get a really good reaction. I just do. And that breaks the lies of people saying, nobody cares what you have to say, until I go on your stream, and compared to the 10 or 20 likes you might get sometimes when you're interviewing someone, I might get you 30, and I'm supposed to be someone who has nobody cares for. It's some people don't want to reward you. So sometimes your reputation, even like influence, can be really good, but that can cause jealousy. So jealousy can get all this bad reaction. So it's a way I like the system, but it's something I would tell players: understand what world you're in, especially Babylon 5, and instantly having a higher reputation starts becoming very dangerous. Dangerous for your health, dangerous for your life, dangerous for your mission. In many ways, you can use it to your benefit. Don't get it wrong. That's what it is there for. You can go into breakup fights. You can get people to agree to meet there. If you're smart, when you start building up a reputation, you start building up safeties. You use it to build up safeties. That's what I would tell a wise player. You want to build up a reputation, but then you want to make it hard for people to lie. But like, you want to start putting in guards, not guards, but guards as in mental guards, making friends, creating connections to get protection from lies that could be spread about you, and understanding. So players should understand right away, the more you build it up, the more dangerous it is. Like, it's in one way it's good, another way it's really, really bad. because reputation gets you attention, good and bad. So it's a very scary place to be for some people that can't handle or don't prepare for what can come at them. Right. So in a way, when you go up to that, you're playing a very on the ball game where you need to, especially a game master that's going to enforce this stuff. Like I'll let you play with your reputation, but also, if it's me, right? Like, oh, better watch out what you're doing. Better put up some safeguards. Better make good connections. Better do all that, right? If not, I can come back to haunt you. Okay. So there's what I think of the influence system. There's exactly in that way how I use it. Right. So influence is direct gameplay, but it's something that can be very difficult to, I would see for some players, because I know how they play. I don't know. I think it's a very dangerous game. Now, if you have a simple, I hate to say it, though, I met some guys that ran Babylon 5. In their game, you can get away with anything. In their game, it becomes boring. You just have your influence and you kick ass. And not many people fuck with you. Boring and generic. It seems cool for a minute when you get an overkill like that, but it becomes boring. Influence should be dangerous. So it's like you should almost consider the benefits of not having it. Because the less you have it, like, okay, it might cut you off from connections, but it can also keep you very safe by keeping low key. Right? Right. And the more reputation you have, the bigger players that are going to look at you that want to fuck with you. There you go. I was going to go in more into detail at the end of this because you asked me specific, but I was hoping you sort of start catching on that once you understand how I'm saying run the game, you realize influence in the game is very an edgy thing to play with. And it doesn't mean I avoid it. And some players will, at first, they think it's great. But I've had a lot of players in my game regret building up a good influence because they start getting attention they don't want. Anyway, I hope you're still there. I hope everyone's just listening. I hope your disconnect is not a sign of me having an issue, but I mean, it says I'm live. It's not showing me any issues on my connection. And so we're going to go into setting in a second here. All right. Should be able to finish this off in decent time with you being able to go get some sleep. Okay. Most RPG settings answer the question, yeah, once it gets too high, it will have consequences for good and bad. It's always going to have good and bad consequences, even as it's mid-range, but it's just like, okay, at mid-range, at least it's only smaller people that want to fuck with you, and they can be easier to deal with. As you get higher, it's just bigger players, more connections, more shit, right? So you might have somebody wanting to kill you at the mid-range. You might have somebody wanting to lock you up and having the means to do this at the higher range. You might even get guys at the lower range wanting to spread lies about you that start harming the reputation. Potentially, if they get jealous enough, they could even get you in trouble with bigger names, right? Just saying, all that stuff can happen. Personally, I faced it in life, so I actually have a good experience with this whole fucking thing. And then when I can apply the reality to it, so it's a good, don't get it wrong, it can be a good thing. And if you put safeguards up, it can be actually a really good thing most of the time. Like, you're not just always in danger. But if you're careless with reputation, like as you move up with influence, right? So most RPG settings answer the question, where do adventures happen? Babylon 5 answers a different question. Who is trying to influence events? The setting is not built around wilderness exploration, dungeon crawling, or treasure hunting. It's built around politics, diplomacy, information, relationships, beliefs, competing agendas. The station is the center of everything. The biggest strength of the setting is the station itself. Babylon 5 is uh, simultaneously a diplomatic center, a trade center, a military outpost, a transportation hub, a cultural crossroads. Why this matters: almost any character concept can logically exist there. Examples: ambassadors, merchants, security officers, journalists, scientists, intelligence agents, pilots, telepaths. The station naturally brings people together. Babylon 5 isn't just where the campaign happens, it's the reason the campaign happens. The setting is built around organizations. Many RPG settings focus heavily on races. Babylon 5 often focuses on institutions. Examples include Earth Force, Psi Corps, the Rangers, Earth Alliance Government, Centauri Republic, Narn Regime, Minbari Federation, corporate interest. Why this matters: characters often define themselves by who they serve as much as, what race or species they are. The galaxy is bigger than the players. One of the strengths of Babylon 5 is that the universe does not revolve around the player characters. Important events are happening on distant worlds, inside governments, within military organizations, across entire sectors of space, whether the players are involved or not. Why this matters: it creates a living setting. The players are important, but they are not necessarily the center of galactic history. The galaxy doesn't stop moving when the players leave the room. It's like saying the NPCs are evolving, some politics are happening. You could leave out say some long mission, come back, and suddenly there's new people running the show in different areas. That group used to run that area, now they don't. That group used to have a better connection with the security, now they don't. Right? The timeline changes everything. One of the most unique aspects of Babylon 5 is that the setting evolves. A campaign set during one era can feel completely different from another. Before the series, political tensions rising. Before the series, political tensions rising, mystery and uncertainty. The future still unwritten. Series era, diplomacy, investigations, hidden threats, shadow war era. So these are the different eras. So I want to talk about this. So before the series starts, political tensions rising, mystery and uncertainty, the future still unwritten. Early series era, diplomacy, investigations, hidden threats. Shadow war era, large-scale conflict, difficult choices, shifting alliances. Earth Civil War era, political division, questions of loyalty, internal conflict. Post-series era, reconstruction, new opportunities, new political realities. Sorry about that. The setting changes over time, which means the same campaign idea can feel completely different depending on when you place it. Information is one of the most valuable resources. Many RPGs revolve around equipment, money, technology. Babylon 5 often revolves around intelligence, secrets, knowledge, important questions. Who knows something they shouldn't? That single question can create entire adventures. Examples: hidden political agreements, secret military projects, intelligence operations, buried historical truths. So information is just so valuable to the game. Who has it? Who doesn't? Right? Where is it? What do you know? And the more information you have, the more you can influence things that are going on, the more you can make certain deals and be able to use information to say, here's what I know, trade it, offer, put people ahead, or even trick people, lie to people, put them behind while you get ahead, which is a big issue in this world where it's constantly moving and everyone's trying to move up, move down, right? What you know matters, especially with that influence stuff we were talking about. What you know matters. Once you get to, you talked about that earlier. Sorry, just making sure. Politics, religion, culture, and ideology are gameplay. It's one of the biggest differences from many science fiction settings. These are not background details, these are adventure generators. Examples: religious disagreements, political disputes, cultural misunderstanding, ideological conflicts, diplomatic incidents. The setting constantly asks, what happens when two groups with different beliefs want incompatible outcomes? In Babylon 5, a debate can be as dangerous as a battle because it can lead to war. It can lead to complete destruction. Cultural differences create adventures. Many conflicts in Babylon 5 happen because people genuinely see the universe differently. Examples: humans, pragmatism; Minbari, spirituality; the Centauri, ambition; Narn, determination. These differences create misunderstandings, alliances, tension, opportunity. Why this matters? Not every conflict needs a villain. Sometimes people simply want different futures. That is very Babylon 5 style of story. That is a very Babylon 5 style of story. Meaning it's not that they're all bad. It's just you can't have 5 different outcomes. So it leads people to wanting to have conflict, even if initially they're not corrupt or not just totally evil. And it comes down to the questions: what are you willing to do to make sure your thing goes forward? Even if you're not corrupt, even if you're actually decent in many ways, would you still kill to make that happen? And if you would, then you become very dangerous to people that oppose that outcome, right? Ancient powers shape the setting. Another important aspect of Babylon 5 is that events often operate on multiple levels. Characters may be dealing with personal problems, organization problems, government problems, galactic problems, all at the same time. Ancient powers such as the Shadows, the Vorlons influence events throughout the setting. Why this matters? The universe often feels larger and older than the characters can fully understand. The Babylon 5 campaign can start with a trade dispute and end with questions about the future of civilization. Multiple campaign styles work. Setting supports a surprising number of campaign types: diplomatic campaigns, negotiation, political intrigue, alliances; ranger campaigns, exploration, intelligence gathering, shadow war operations; Earth Force campaigns, military operations, security missions, strategic decision making; commercial campaigns, trade, smuggling, corporate interest; intelligence campaigns, espionage, counterintelligence, conspiracies; journalistic campaigns, investigation, exposing corruption, chasing major stories; telepathic campaigns, Psycorp politics, telepath rights, ethical dilemmas. The best stories come from conflicting goals. The setting works best when different groups want different things, not because someone is evil, but because their interests collide. Good Babylon 5 conflict, not who do we fight, but whose future do we support. The setting rewards patience. Babylon 5 campaigns often improve when players build relationships, gather information, develop reputation, gain influence, create alliances, watch events unfold. The setting rewards long term thinking. Many of the most important victories happen because of decisions made much earlier. Some of the best victories in Babylon 5 happens because of decisions made months earlier, to be honest. So making connections where that person could move up the line and open new, options to you, or even get themselves in trouble. What does that mean for you, right? So it's just all over the place, but it's good and can affect all the stuff going forward. Hope matters. It's one of the most important things to remember. The setting contains war, corruption, betrayal, tragedy, but it's not a hopeless setting. Like I said earlier, at its heart, Babylon 5 is hope, cooperation, understanding, building a better future. Why this matters: without hope, the setting stops feeling like Babylon 5. Babylon 5 is not a story about darkness winning. It's a story about people choosing what kind of future they want. So that's where I say you're not really looking at villains. Everyone sort of thinks they're a good guy, and potentially everything is, how can I say, it's like everybody's story could be the good story. What breaks the setting? Treating every problem as combat, ignoring organizations and politics, forgetting the timeline, making information unimportant, turning every conflict into good versus evil, like we said earlier, ignoring religion and ideology, making players the center of the universe. Again, what makes the setting work? I've already said all this. Powerful organizations, political maneuvering, religious and ideological conflicts, information and secrets, cultural differences, long term consequences, ancient mysteries, evolving history, hope despite adversity. Babylon 5 works best when the setting feels alive, changing, and influenced by countless people pursuing different visions of the future. The setting isn't a backdrop for adventures, the setting is the source of the adventures. The setting is an adventure. The Babylon 5 setting succeeds because it turns politics, culture, religion, secrets, organizations, and competing visions of the future into the engine that drives each campaign. There you go.